closed on the property a year ago, and just in time to show you guys our summer garden tour of everything we've been doing, not just this summer, but so far in the last year since we closed on the property, using no chemicals, everything organic, as many permaculture methods as we can while living within our HOA. Welcome back to the channel, you guys, and us showing you how we've been able to adapt, overcome, and improvise. One of the first things we did when moving into this house is, as much as we wanted to focus on food productivity for feeding ourselves, our family, and all the kids and animals and everything that goes along, that being the main point of the property, one of the things we wanted to do is make sure that we had everything looking as good as possible up front, kind of designing in the way I call it a bit of a mullet property, where we got the business in front, the party in the back, the food forest is in the back. Up front we have more pretty plants like the hibiscus you see right here, sitting next to a downspout. I've got a row of them along my garage that creates a simple, low maintenance color pop that me and the neighbors all love. Behind me we have a good bed of nothing but blown over sunflowers that actually looked a lot better until about 2 hours ago when we had a storm blow in right in time to film this video. So we have these sunflowers going in here with a Valencia orange, tangerine, and then a pygmy date palm going into this area. These sunflowers we're using to help try and build the soil within the bed. We'll use the roots after we cut them down to stay in the bed, build in that organic matter. The sunflower stalks themselves will be dropped as mulch for just chop and drop, and then we're going to come back in here and add in some artichokes into this bed later on in the year. But right now the sunflowers have been coming out, popping off really well in the color. Tomorrow I'm just going to have to come through and stand up what has been blown over and tangled and untangle that, and it's going to be a mess to deal with, but good timing. Typical Florida, blow in a storm right when I need to film a video. Let's go show you something else that doesn't look as bad. Back through here we've been getting a ton of bananas coming in along this left side over here. In total I have 5 types of bananas on the property. 4 of them are on this row right here. We have Namwa, Truly Tiny, Double Mahoy, along with Blue Java or Ice Cream Banana, all along this line. We started off last year with 8 banana plants on the property. I've been propagating them out like crazy, especially the last month. So far, I've been giving away pups, and I still have ended up with 28 now on the property, and I'm still not done propagating pups out. So it's been an absolutely great season for bananas coming in, getting them propagated out. Right over here on the right, the vegetable garden hasn't been doing as great, still trying to build the soil on a lot of these. But if you follow me down here, I'll show you the vegetable that has been actually working out quite well for us. While we've been trying to focus on using sunflowers in a lot of these beds just to build the soil, one of the few vegetables that we have been able to get to work for us really well this summer, just using nothing but the native soil, has been okra. This one has been absolutely amazing for us. My wife has been using it like crazy, cooking in the kitchen. She's created her own ramen recipe with okra and boiled egg and some other stuff that is just, she'll have to do it later on the channel for you guys. It's absolutely bomb. Myself, the kids, we all love it. It's absolutely just an easy one to grow. The one thing to keep in mind though is with okra, you do want to be on top of picking them, because if you leave them too long, this one right here is kind of getting at that end of it. After about 2 or 3 days, they start getting really tough. So you want to pick them before then. Otherwise, they're pretty much just good for seed. Otherwise, they're an easy one to grow, do really well for us. They definitely like the full sun, a bit of water, and they pretty much take care of themselves. I'll show you something else. I'm not going to touch too much on this bed. If you guys want to hear more about this one specifically, check out our most recent video, our ice cream bed. This is exactly what I'm in right here, and that's why I'm not going to touch on it, because we just did it, but I did want to point out a quick update from that video for those of you who have seen it. This right here, this Blue Java was the one, if you remember, that I dug up and was not doing very good. As you can tell with the leaves being pretty flopped over, it was struggling. Didn't have very much roots on it, if any at all. I should have either let it stay in the ground a little bit longer or taken better care digging it out. Either way, I was very concerned about it. It was the only one in here I wasn't sure if it was going to make it. And as you can see now, since the video, we've got a new leaf coming out that shows everything is going to be fine. So this is one thing that I absolutely love about the bananas. They're really easy to bounce back as long as you give them a lot of water, a lot of food, and a good amount of mulch. They will do absolutely phenomenal for you. Now let's go back and check out something a little more exciting, like the little chickies. Down this way, our chickens have just been getting bigger and bigger. We've added the other half of the flock in, so now we've got a solid 13, rounding it out with 11 hens, 2 roosters. The roosters were an accident because they were silkies. It wasn't our intention when we got them. But the nice thing is, because they're silky roosters, we've noticed they're actually quieter than even our neighbors' dogs barking, the other neighbors who have roosters, and we can't even hear our roosters inside, where we can hear the other neighbors and their animals from inside our house. We can't even hear ours. So a great thing to have with them. They're getting along a little bit better as the little chickens have started getting bigger. I haven't been letting them sleep outside with the older hens just yet because they do still get picked on a little bit, so I am having to take them out and put them in a tub in the garage every night, bring them out in the morning. It's a little bit of a pain, but we're about any week away now at this point from having our hens from the first batch start to lay eggs. And we're hoping that once they start doing that, they'll mellow out a little bit more and everybody will start getting along much better. The coop's a little bit of a mess right now. I'm right at the end of where I need to clean it out. And of course, like I said, we just had a storm come in just in time for you guys to see everything look much more messy than it should have after I spent the last couple days cleaning it up for all of you. But anyways, there's our chickens. Hopefully we'll have eggs soon. We're definitely excited to get some more food coming in on the property to be able to eat more of what we actually produce. Let's go check out something else. Probably one of the most beneficial things that I've had happen on the property to be able to round out everything else we got going on is a deal I worked out with one of my neighbors. She needed her leaves gone, taken out, that she was raking up from her property. I need organic material to use on my property to create things like compost and mulch. And so that's a lot of what you're seeing here. I was able to get to the size that I'm at because of a lot of the leaves that I brought over from her property. I take in my grass cuttings like you're seeing on top, mix in some of the chicken poop or our food scraps with it to round everything out, mix it all together. Everything starts breaking down into a very, very highly nutritious bit of mulch and compost that I can then spread around to all my trees, all of my plants, and share around the love to help them grow completely organically without having to bring in any type of fertilizer, which has been huge, especially at this time of the year with, or not just year, but everything going on in the world with fertilizer shortages and everything else like that. It's definitely a lot nicer to be able to make my own and not have that concern for the plants that we have, even though it does make it a little bit more difficult up front. In the long term, I think it's going to pay really good dividends. And on to the next thing. Over here we got Mama. If you're a fan of the channel, you've been watching a few videos, you recognize this one. This is where we've grabbed a lot of our pups for the blue javas out of. That's why this is called Mama. She's put out the most pups out of any other banana on the property so far, for a total so far now this year of 5. Now I put in this plant as one of the very first plants along with 2 other blue javas and a few other trees that I'm about to show you when we first moved in on this property. But this is by far the biggest, by far the healthiest. She is, in all honesty, a little healthy because I tried a little trick. I heard that bananas actually like to be fed a lot, to the point where a good source of nitrogen is if you treat them kind of like your outhouse and you urinate on them. So I've been running an experiment with this one. It has done much better than a lot of the other bananas on the property, as you could probably tell. And so I've started spreading that love around to the other bananas as well. Little tip, secret definitely seems to be bananas like it when you pee on them. So that's all I'll mention about that. Let's go somewhere else. Back during winter, we had a freak cold front that apparently in Florida was supposed to be a once in every 10-year type of cold front. And of course, it happened to be our very first year in Florida. Coming out of desert climates and realizing that Florida can actually get cold was very interesting. Very interesting. Anyways, this is one of our casualties. This is our papaya. I had to cut back. It was a nice stalk, single stalk, and it's now turned into a double stalk. It actually had 3, but the third one wasn't performing that well, so I went ahead and cut it out. And it seems like with 2 is where it's really starting to do well. I've got buds forming on it. Hopefully they'll open up soon and they'll flower. We'll be able to get some fruit off it. Very excited about that one. I'll show you something that's a little bit closer to actually fruiting though now. Come on over here. The closest thing we've got to actually giving us some fruit is this fig tree right here, which I'm very excited about. This is our Olympian fig. Again, another one that I put on right away when we got the property that ended up dying back during the winter cold front that we got. I had to cut it all the way back to the ground. I wasn't sure if this one was gonna come back, if it was a cold tolerant enough variety for how cold we got this year. We did get down to about 28 degrees Celsius or Fahrenheit for I think 3 nights, and that's kind of what did it on a lot of these plants. Was just that 3 nights. It was 1 night and then 2 nights in a row. And we had the 2 nights in a row after the 1 freak night, that's what really killed off a lot of them. And so this is one that I was very glad to see come back. It started putting out fruit, which is very exciting. It's gonna be one of our first things to actually give us fruit on the property, which is great for me being Greek, because obviously Greek figs, gotta have them, otherwise I'm not a Greek gardener. But let's move on to something else then. This is our biggest finger lime that we've got. We've got 2 of them on the property. This is our biggest and healthiest one. No real reason to show you it. It's not doing anything crazy. I just think it looks really pretty at this time of night with the sunset going down. I've shown you a lot of my successes on this tour. Now it's time to talk about my biggest failure, which you can see right behind me is supposed to be Berry Boulevard, has turned into Death Row. The only thing that I've been able to get to grow back here is this Mexican sunflower behind me, which is going to be great for chop and drop mulch when it comes time to, but as for everything else that I've tried to put in here, it's really just a glaring example of one of the biggest problems I've had on this property, which has been overextending myself and what I think I can accomplish on this first year on the property. And so everything back here has just been a little too far out of my way, a little too busy with other things to get to it, and so everything back here just keeps dying. And so it's one of those lessons that I've really had to learn, is that what I'm doing here really is a huge resource management game, not just time, water, energy, all these things that I have to keep in mind of what I'm doing and spreading around to these plants to keep them actually getting productive. And in some cases, I just have gone ahead and overextended myself, not knowing really what I was doing when we started all of this. Me and my wife, we come out of a 3-bedroom condo in Utah to now a 1-acre property. It's actually a little over an acre. That's a huge adjustment for us. So some mistakes have been made, and Death Row is the biggest one of them. Anyways, now that I've admitted to that, we'll show you all the tools that I've been using and how I've been able to accomplish this while still leaving great mistakes like Death Row. So come check out the tools that I use. The tools I get to work with aren't that many, and quite honestly, they're pretty basic. A lot of the times it feels like I get almost nothing accomplished on this property just because of how little I really get done. And then once I start taking a look at my inventory of tools, I realize it's because a lot of the case I'm doing a lot of it very physical labor, very like I'm using my hands. I've got a shovel, a pitchfork, a hard rake. Even my soft rake is like tiny. It works really good for cleaning out the chicken coop, but when I have to rake up actual leaves and stuff, it's a pretty big nightmare. I've got some loppers, some post hole diggers, and a bow saw, but other than that, really we're not using much tools on this property. Even my wood chipper that I have behind Olivia holding the camera right now has been completely useless because gas has just gone so high through the roof that it's not even worth it for me to run that to try and make mulch out of the stuff that I'm chopping down. And so that's why you've probably seen around the property a lot of the logs that I was going to try and turn into mulch, I've ended up just laying around the property using as a border. It's worked out really well trying to adapt, overcome, and improvise, as we always say, and doing things the way we have, getting leaves from the neighbors to sub in mulch while everything's crazy and I can't make my own wood chips with the stuff I've got. But you know, this is what we work with, and this is kind of like a no excuses, just gotta go. As much as it's been a struggle, there's been a lot of things that I've learned over the last year, and it's shown and reflected in the property. There's things that aren't performing as well as they should because I didn't do irrigation, because my focus was so heavy on genetics, getting onto the property, getting different types of plants, because with everything going on politically, current events and everything, we just don't know really what's going on, and it's been very fear of missing out makes me very concerned on if I'm going to be able to get those genetics on the property for those different types of plants that I want, whereas I was thinking maybe it would be easier to get water and stuff taken care of down the line. Clearly that's not exactly the case. It's been an interesting lesson to learn, and a lot of it comes from the fact that Olivia and I both come out of desert climates. I mean, I'm from San Diego, but I've spent half of my life also in Utah, and that's just straight desert climates itself. My wife is from Texas, who spent most of her life in Utah. Desert climate again. Now we live in Florida. This is our first time here, and it's just been a whirlwind of learning curve trying to adjust the new type of climate that we live in, the new types of plants we've never seen before, and everything else. It's been absolutely insane. It's been a lot of work, but I hope you guys have been enjoying watching all of these videos. I know that we're gonna enjoy checking this out probably next year and seeing how everything looked when we're 3 to 5 years from now and looking back on where it all got started. It's one of the cool things about starting this channel is we don't really intend to try and educate or make this our full-time job with the farm. We want to produce products to sell to all of you later who would like to purchase that, but it's fun to us to document that whole startup process, for us to be able to look back and for you as the audience to be able to see, once we have that stuff to offer, exactly how we started creating that. It's a lot of what we want to do here, is try and show people where their stuff comes from, and we think that's really important, and it also serves as a great research tool for us to see everything we did and how we got to where we're going to be, hopefully in the future. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed today's garden tour. Thank you for tuning in. As always, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, turn notifications on so you can catch us. As always, we have our wedding anniversary to celebrate, but we'll be back shortly to YouTube once we're done with that one. Anyways, thanks again for watching today's video. Molnar, out. Wrapping up filming, rainstorm finally kicked out. Beautiful sunset. Good night, everybody.